Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another Division video. And in today's video, I want to speak to you guys about the most recent patch notes going into PTS Week 4. Yes, that is right, we do have a Week 4 for the PTS in light of the most recent debate that's been happening this week with regards to the game being too easy, there being too much loot. They have decided to kind of finely tune things a little bit more and then give us another week to test things out. Now do bear in mind that this Week 4 PTS does not mean to say that the 1.4 patch is going to be delayed. The developers have said they are still aiming to get this out in October. We still have 2 and a bit weeks left in October, so there is still plenty of time to get this out. But I think you'll all agree that if we waited this long, waiting an extra week isn't going to be too bad, because we'd much rather they get it right and get it out the door than rush this final week and then just mess it up all over again. So, the patch notes speak about the changes from Week 3, i.e. last week, to Week 4, this week that has just gone live. The servers are back up now, so you can jump in the PTS, test it out. So we'll speak about those, and then we'll touch on that topic shortly as well. So, if you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts. But to begin with, if you guys have missed the kind of ongoing debate this week, basically in Week 3 of the PTS, the debate has been that the NPCs were far too easy to kill, and there was too much loot as a result. Now, I appreciate any of you guys stuck with 1.3, probably thinking like, holy crap, give me that, because I have got a horrible experience right now being one-shot by these shotgunners. But of course, to remain objective, the other side of the spectrum is that if the game becomes so ridiculously easy, then there's going to be no challenge factor, and of course that will also run out quickly, you'll get bored quickly, all that stuff like that. However, it seems that the reason that the NPCs were extremely easy in the PTS Week 3 was actually down to a bug. So, first things first, taking this directly from the patch notes, I will link them down below, of course, if you guys want to read them yourself, but it seems that one of the main issues was that a lot of comparisons were being made with regards to Underground Challenge Mode, and the way that difficulty was handled in the Underground is actually different to how difficulty is handled in other endgame activities, i.e. Challenge Mode missions, incursions, etc. Seems that the issue was due to the fact that the Underground Challenge Mode does not scale to group size the same way that main missions do. So in order to address this problem, they've now added more consistency between the activity types. So Underground Challenge Mode will now scale to group size in terms of enemy health and damage, but no longer in enemy quantity. This now means that when playing solo, or in a smaller group, you will face more enemies in the Underground Challenge Mode than you did in the past. Also, to go with this change, they've also changed the drop chance for items ever so slightly, because if they were to increase the number of enemies, then that would of course increase the drop chances for items, which would in turn result in even more loot than before. So they've toned that down a little bit, so we should see a little bit less loot and slightly more enemies, which should in turn provide a kind of matching challenge mode difficulty to, say, missions, incursions, etc. Do bear in mind, of course, for any of you guys hearing this from, say, 1.3, the loot in 1.4 is still drastically better than what you have, and the enemy scaling is still drastically better, so whenever they speak about making enemies slightly tougher or changing the loot, don't think they are kind of comparing that to 1.3. This is all with regards to the past few weeks in the PTS. So no matter what you get in 1.4, it's going to be a vastly better experience than what you have right now, but it's still important to make sure that it is finely tuned. They're also making some changes to elite enemies' health and damage. So they said that based on the discussion this week with regards to time to kill and time to be killed, it appeared that recently there was actually a bug which actually reduced the incoming damage from NPCs by an extra 15% on top of the 15% they'd initially announced for PTS 3. Because if you guys cast your mind way back to PTS Week 2, then you'll know that a lot of people complained about the scaling and said that it was kind of a lot more harsh than Week 1. So then they fixed that, or they intended to fix that in Week 3, but it seems that with that fix, they actually encountered a bug, it overdid it. So what it actually did is it had an amplified effect, and instead of adjusting the NPC scaling according to Week 2, it basically doubled the effect, making the enemies a lot weaker. So what they've now done is they have fixed a bug where the NPC damage was reduced by an extra 15%, leading to a total of 30% reduction in PTS 3 instead of the 15% that was announced. So now their damage is now currently reduced by 15% compared to PTS 2, and therefore increased by 21% compared to PTS 3. So the NPCs this week will be stronger than Week 3, weaker than Week 2. So that should be, based on player feedback, the kind of happy medium. So we'll see. I'll be jumping in. Obviously, the servers have only just gone live, so I'll be jumping in this week, doing some testing in various different activities, and I'll provide my feedback once I have come to a conclusion that I am happy with. On top of that, they have also reverted a change done in PTS 3 to elite and named NPC armor. To bring it back to the same level as PTS 2, this equals an increase of 20% armor compared to PTS 3. They decided that after this change, it wasn't actually necessary, so they reverted that. They have also, as part of our feedback, in PTS 3, people discovered that health on kill was actually really potent to the point where you could almost forego having healing skills and just have health on kill and stack loads of it. So they have reduced its effectiveness slightly, and in line with that, the 2-piece Nomad has now gone from a 20% health on kill bonus to 14%. So it's a slight drop, still be effective, it'll still be good, but it won't be, ridiculous. On top of that, they've also reduced health and kill rolls on items by about half, so you won't see it quite as frequently as you did before, but it will still be there. And finally, they've also reduced the robust chest piece bonus from 30% armor to 10%, as they said that it was inconsistent with other talents that provide lower bonuses with more constraining requirements. So they are the main changes. A few other bug fixes. There were some bugs with regards to armor and damage mitigation being capped at 60% in World Tiers 2 and above. It's now correctly capped at 70%, so basically if you're in World Tier 1, you have a 60% cap. 2 and above, so 2, 3, 4, you will have 70% armor. There are a few other bug fixes there as well, so I'll leave you guys a link to the post if you want to read that for yourself. With regards to skills, they fixed an instance of the ballistic shield being unusable, which I actually encountered when I was doing my threat test the other day. Basically I had the shield out, but it was invisible, so nice to see they fixed that, especially if ballistic shield ends up becoming a skill that people use a lot more. But that is pretty much it. So basically, Week 4 is an attempt to try and find a happy medium between Week 2 and Week 3, so it's not too easy and doesn't give you a ridiculous amount of loot, but also isn't too difficult and isn't kind of as badly tuned as it was in Week 2. So the end result should be a much better experience that provides an appropriate challenge that is, for the top tier players, gives them something to do, but for the solo players, still gives them accessible difficulty and a means to get loot. So as mentioned, I'm going to be jumping in this week, doing some serious testing, trying to sort of see how the NPC scaling works out, see how it feels, see how the loot is, all that stuff. So I will provide some feedback once I have done some testing on that. But for the time being, that is basically all you need to know. That's what Week 4 looks like. So hopefully, if this week works out well, people are happy with it, then that should lead on to a good build that they're ready to push out, which would then mean we probably get the 1.4 patch, maybe the last week of October. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. But until then, thank you for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.